a traditional burn is a burn that's conducted intentionally by traditional owners on their country. Multiple reasons behind as to why traditional owners would want to conduct that type of burn. The similarity that they're always going to have is that it's always going to be a cool burn, and they're always going to be a gentle burn. They're not going to be burns that affect the canopy. The reason behind doing them can vary from anything from protecting cultural assets, protecting native assets, things like certain species in the grounds, and it could be anything from that to certain foods or medicines. Could be simply for ceremony as well. There's so many varied reasons, and it can contain either one of those many reasons or a multitude of those many reasons throughout the burn. As long as it's conducted and planned and prepared by traditional owners and executed with at least some of those ideas in mind, that's what creates a traditional burn. We chose Spadonis Reserve for a cultural burn for a number of reasons. Initially, as a alternative to some of the practices that were happening here already. Some typical land management practices like slashing, spraying, planting. It was initially to see how cultural burning could benefit and alleviate some of those practices and actually assist with them. Preparation that went into getting a burn on Spadonis Reserve was quite lengthy. So we've done a fair bit of training. Victor Stephenson and Leighton Lee, who are cultural fire practitioners from Firesticks Alliance, had been down with me a couple of times to give me some advice on the sites, to look at certain indicators on when the right time to burn is, and overall assistance from a cultural perspective about how we should be conducting the burn on the day. And one of the other big preparations was the timing, making sure that we had the right moisture in the soil and making sure that we had the grass cured off at the right time as well. There was also the preparation of the site, the slashed around the area, so that if the fire was going to move across, it was onto essentially a lower amount of fuel. The assets within the burn site were then flagged out. There were things like silver wattle and some juvenile buxton gums. We wanted to make sure we preserve them during the burn. On the day of the healing burn, myself, my father, Jaden Festini, the Tanarong man and trainee with Firesticks at Council, we had the Bushlands crew out here as well. Even though it's a cultural burn, it got classified as a cultural healing burn. And the reason it was given that classification is that in this particular site we have a lot of invasive weed species of grass like phalaris and a few other annual grasses species. So our target this time around was to burn some of those. They're quite thick this time of year and they were quite green and probably not cured off to exactly where we wanted. But we know for next season that with the right time, the exact right time we want to go for it. Within this landscape, there is still some good native species around, like Microlina, there's some poas, there's some lamandras and juncus as well that are still existing even in spite of these invasive pastoral grasses being here. So the idea is that through the gentle burning and just applying small spot fires as opposed to burning the whole site, that through those areas where it's been opened up will give a chance for those other native species to come through. On the morning of the burn, I went through our SMEACs and with the Bushlands crew and my father present as well, and spoke about how we would go about the actual burn and how we would execute it. The section that we did start at was chosen due to the wind itself, so we wanted to be burning into the wind, not with the wind pushing it. So we lit that with just a simple lighter, and our other tool of choice is a gas weed burner. We prefer to use a clean fire as opposed to one that has an additional liquid fuel involved with it as well. Once we got that first burn initiated, we could see the direction of which it wanted to move, which was essentially not at all. So we had a nice little straight thing of fire, the tiny bit of smoke, and at that stage we deemed it was safe that we could then involve the rest of the Bushlands team to come in and join us and then start to light single grass tufts as we went. We didn't have to have a fire truck or anything out here. We still had a unit out here which was a water tank for the very slight chance that something could possibly go wrong. Always have those backups there, but in this case we arrived with 1,000 litres of water and went home with 1,000 litres of water, which I think is always a good thing. We lit up the first piece at about 11:30, and so for about a good 2.5 hours we were popping bits of fire here and there. It wasn't sort of intense hot burns and people trying to stay back from it and control it. It was about actually people engaging while the fire was happening. Fire doesn't have to be a big scary thing, and that if we use it as a tool correctly and we treat it with the respect it deserves, we can actually demonstrate how to look after country in a really respectful manner. Post-burn, for what we was kind of expecting has come into fruition, which is great to see. Little things like putting fire into the phalaris, that even knowing that it was a little bit damp at the time and that probably wouldn't burn the whole phalaris, it still actually laid some of the bigger vegetation over, which is really handy to know that we can sort of use fire to actually lay that particular species over, so when we come back for another burn that it's actually that it's at a more manageable level. There's a Lamandra over there which was well overdue for a burn and was full of dry grasses sort of thing, and was pretty much on its way out. Had it not been treated, I think it probably would have died in the next year or two. We lit it in a safe way, and it sort of burned itself down to where it needs to be, and now it's showing that it's got signs of life coming back, and they've got those green shoots coming through. Same with some of the poas we've burnt. Unfortunately, the phalaris is showing signs of green as well, but just means that we have to make sure we come back and hit that one again. The saplings that were marked out in preparation for the burn, not one of them got singed, not one of them got burnt, and they're all still there, happy as they were before the burn. And I think it just goes to show just how gentle the fire is once we're putting it through at the right time and the right conditions. The next thing on the radar for the Return to Firesticks program at Council is looking at how we can do this again, and also extend it out further. Outside of that, there's a big movement in Firesticks Alliance across Australia, and it's nice to say that we're officially on the map with them as well, to show that we've got some burns coming through. So it's a pretty big deal for everyone. Yep.
My name's James Bassini. I'm a Turral man of the Kulin Nation, and I'm a Firesticks trainee at Yarra Ranges Council. For me, it's another tool in the toolbox for a holistic approach for land management and to essentially care for country, and for me, for my own cultural journey and my own connection to country, and also to assist other Aboriginal people. This being obviously Wurundjeri country, being my neighbours, so this is very important to me as well, to assist others within the Kulin Nation. When I'm applying fire in country, I'm essentially reading country, I'm communicating with country, I'm in deep thought with country, while I'm placing that fire on country, being very cautious of where I'm placing my fire, that I'm deeply focused and deeply connected to country while I'm applying fire.
The healing burn that we conducted at Spadonis was very significant, not just for cultural burns in general, but particularly for Yarra Ranges Council. It's really nice as a Wurundjeri man lead that and do it in collaboration with Council and like-minded people that are really passionate and enthusiastic about seeing these cultural practices come to life, and seeing them used in the appropriate way and a respectful way as well. This was like the pivotal moment, essentially, to show that all that hard work that's gone into it, we did get there, and it can be done, and we will see more of it.